Hi, Mr. Ko here again, and today's topic is graphing linear inequalities. And our goal for today is we're going to graph linear inequalities, and our California standard is Algebra 9.0. And our vocabulary focus for today is the word inequalities. And inequality is a math statement that compares two expressions using less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to type of symbols. Alright, so let's go ahead and get going. Alright, so inequalities are similar to like what we've done before with when we had just basic inequalities where we had to just graph on a number line and it just went left to right. Now, since we're doing linear inequalities, we're now using the up and down motion of your coordinate plane. So instead of just graphing a left to right type of motion, you've got the x and the y axis to actually go upon. Alright, so here let's start off with this one, and let's just go over this real quickly. Our basic steps on how to do this. Number one, we want to keep things at the slope-intercept format, so that your y is equal to mx plus b. So it kind of looks like that. Then we're going to graph the points like how you've been doing before, which is we're going to take the y-intercept, and then we're going to use the slope as the movements. And then we're going to go ahead and figure out, at this point, because we're now doing, it's not an equation, it's an inequality, we're going to have two different types of lines. And one is a solid line and one is a dotted line, and that depends on your inequality. And then after that, we're going to shade. Just like what you did with the inequalities, you had to shade left or right. We're now going to shade either an up or a down type of shading. Okay, so let's start off with this one. And let's go ahead and make a simple graph. So here we have x and your y. And let's go ahead and look at this. This is our y is equal to mx plus b format. So your slope and your intercept right here. So just like what you've been taught, you're going to go ahead and circle your slope-intercept. That way it organizes your thought for you. -4 means you're going to go on the y because it's a y-intercept. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a dot right here. And our next step is we're going to go ahead and graph the next point. Okay, so we've already graphed the -4. We're going to graph the 2, 5 motion, the slope. So like what I've told you, make sure that you are drawing arrows there just so that you can organize your thoughts again. So we are moving 2 up because that's a +2, and we're moving 5 to the right because that's +5. So we're going to go up from your dot that you made from y-intercept, go up 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, I'm just kind of making marks for this one. It should be a little bit neater had we had created a much neater type of coordinate plane. Alright, so now we're done graphing the points. Now let's go ahead and look to see if it's solid or dotted. Now, what you can do to figure out if it's solid or dotted is very simple. Look right here. If it has the equal symbol, that line, then your line is going to be solid. Okay? So, we're just going to go ahead and graph these two with a solid line because it has a line right here. Okay? So now we're done with this. Let's go ahead and figure out which part we are going to shade. The easy way to remember this is if you have it in the y-intercept format, the slope-intercept format, if y is larger than this, then you are shading up. And so, okay, you're shading up. That's it. Now, what I've told others to kind of look at is think of this as a picture, and that this is a hill or a mountain that you're going up, and that this is your sky. So, if you're undecided on which way to shade, if y is greater than, then you shade the sky. If y is less than, then you shade the mountain, okay, or the rocks that you're walking on. And if you want to go and draw a little person going up the mountain or the hill, just to give you an idea of which way to shade. Alright, let's go ahead and do the same thing with this one. Alright, so I've created my rudimentary coordinate plane. So let's go ahead and graph this out. First of all, let's go ahead and set this up so that way we know what to do. So let's organize it. So we have our +1, and let's make this into a fraction just by placing a 1 underneath it. that negative 3, we're going down 3, and we're going to right over 1. So we look at our format. That's already done for us. We're going to go ahead and graph our points. We're going to go, first of all, to, on the y-intercept, we're going to go to 1 and place a dot. So that's our dot right here. Then from here, we're going to go down 3. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and then it's 1 to the right. So let's do that, okay? So here we have our dots right now. And again, we're going to go ahead and look and see at our inequality and see if there is a equal sign. And since there is, our line is going to be solid. So I'm going to connect these two dots with a solid line. And then our final step here now is to figure out which way to shade. And again, make this as your scenery type of picture. So this is your mountain right here. You're coming down skiing or snowboarding. So here's that person right here. Let's go with snowboarding. Okay, and draw our sun. So, and again, we did state that if y is greater than, then we're shading the sky. And if y is less than, we are going to shade the mountain. So, let's shade this part. Alright, and there you have it for how to graph a linear inequality with this particular type of linear inequalities. So my question to you is, what tells you if the line is either solid or dotted? And I want you to go ahead and think about that. Alright, let's move on. Okay, so let's go ahead and do another one. And same, except look at your inequality. And notice that these two inequalities do not have that equal sign, and I'll show you what that looks like as well. So same exact type of steps that we're going to follow. Alright, let's organize your graphing. And then let's go ahead and start putting in our points. So let's start on the y-intercept, which is at negative 3. That's our dot for this. We're going to go down one more because it tells us it's a negative 1. Down 1 and then over 3. So we're looking at right there. And then now our next step is either a solid line or a dotted line. And we're going to look, if there is no equal sign here, then we are looking at a dotted line. So from here to here, a dotted line. Now, of course, you could also use dashes. As long as you're not creating a solid line, then you're okay here. And then finally, we're going to shade. Alright, let's go ahead and work on the second one. I've already drawn the graph and the coordinate plane for it. So let's go ahead and, again, check our steps. We have our y is equal to mx plus b format, the slope-intercept format. So now we're going to go ahead and graph our points. And let's do the same exact thing. Circle plus 4. Negative 2 means we're going to go down. 5 means we're going to go to the right. So go 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 2, 1, 2, over 5. 1, 2, 3, 5, somewhere about right here. Those are our points that we've drawn or graphed. And now we're going to decide if it's a solid or a dotted. Because that is there's no equal sign, that automatically lets you know that it's going to be dotted. Alright, and then let's go ahead and draw our sun. And let's draw our little man coming down the mountain, hiking. Okay. And now we can go and figure out where we're going to shade. So since this is y is greater than, well, if y is greater than, then we're going to go ahead and basically shade the top. We're going to shade where on top of the mountain, or the sky in this case. And again, if you really wanted to go ahead and try this and to make sure that you are shading the correct area, well, let's go ahead and just pick 0, 0 again. Because if I take 0, 0 and it works, then that means we shaded the wrong area. If I pick 0, 0 and it doesn't work, then that means we've shaded the correct area. So let's take 0, 0. If I put 0 into here, put 0 into here, is 0 larger than 4? And the answer is no. So which means we've shaded the right area. Okay? So my question to you for this one is, what tells you which direction to shade? So make sure that you keep that in your head, and that's probably going to be something I'm going to be asking you later on. Alright, so what happens if you have special type of lines? Now we've had special type of lines that we've drawn here. These are actually quite easy to draw. So these are our x and the y-axis type of lines. So if you have x is greater than or equal to 4, then it's similar to saying x is equal to 4. So all of your points all your values for x are always going to be 4, which means y is going to be anything that it wants to be. So any value. So anything that you have is always going to be on the 4 of the x value. So here's your 1, 2, 3, 4 on your x. And then right here, that is going to create a vertical line that goes straight through that. Okay? And I jumped the gun here on the solid or dotted. I forgot to check to make sure that it had an equal sign. And it does, which makes us a solid line. Okay? Now we need to shade. And in this case, there really is no, like the sun or whatever it is, because it's actually a straight line. Actually, you might be able to. You can probably call this the cliff. And then here is still the mountain, and then here would be the air area. So if you notice, x is greater than 4, so you'd still be shading in anything that's greater than 4. And since x is greater than 4, the next numbers here are 5 and 6 and so on, which are greater. So you'd be shading to the right. Okay. Alright, let's do this one as well. And again, when you graph this one, it's similar to graphing y is equal to -2, which means you're going on the y-axis and you're going to go down to -2, and you're going to go ahead and create that horizontal line, because every single value of y is going to be -2. Oops, and I jumped the gun here with the dotted line here, because there is no solid line. This is so, and then our final step here is we're going to go ahead and shade left to right or up and down. In this case, because y is less than -2, you're on the y-axis. All the numbers that are less than -2 are -3, -4, and so on. So you are shading everything down here again. Alright, so now we had briefly stated this question right here. So how do you, what can you do to check if you shaded correctly? Well, you just have to pick a number. Now in this case here, if we pick y as -3, -3 would be down here. That would make sense because this is our 3, 3 is less than -2. I'm sorry, -3 right here would be less than -2, which is absolutely correct, and that means that we've shaded in the correct area. So what if we had chosen x is 3? Is 3 larger or equal to 4? The answer would be no, and that's why we don't shade this. The shading represents all of the values that x could be and all of the values that y could be. Alright, let's go ahead and do a real quick recap. And the recap is, first of all, we're going to go ahead and make sure that it is in the slope-intercept format, and then we're going to plot our points. Don't forget, we want to organize. So here, we want to organize the line by circling the y-intercept and creating the movements of the slope. Then we're going to decide if it's solid or dotted. So here I'm going to go ahead and draw a solid, and I'm going to draw a dotted. And what tells us if it's going to be solid? Well, if it's going to be solid, it's going to look like this, or it's going to look like this. And then if it's going to be dotted, it's just going to be that or that. And then finally, if we wanted to shade, well, all we have to figure out is how do we shade. So to shade this, whether it's an up or down type of shade, all you have to remember is y is greater than, that means you are shading up. And then if y is less than, you are shading down. So that is your basic guide on how to shade and, of course, to graph linear inequalities. Alright, so if you'd like to see more videos, go to www.youtube.com/user/tycodad, and thank you.